Okay, good afternoon, teacher. I'm going to ask you the 5 questions related to the midterm that you assigned use this week during this week. My name is Nestor Ulises Soto Martinez. Well, I'm going to start with the questions. Well, for me, one of the most important moments in translation and interpretation was the Nuremberg process because it marks the simultaneous translations as a standard at the diplomatic conference. It's important to mention that during this process, the translations was carried out in 4 languages because in the trials there were Americans, Russians, British, and German persons. As we know that during the World War, the time is of the essence. Um, this lead for the need to the to the translators in this case for using the headphones or microphone to work in almost in a real time and and almost with exact accuracy of the translations and interpretation in this case. But it's important to mention that the translators in this case have to know a lot of about the punctuation marks. Um, and otherwise, they could give a wrong information. For that reason, I think that punctuation mark plays the most important roles uh, within the translation and interpretations, since the lack of punctuation mark or the incorrect use of punctuation mark in this case will lead to misunderstanding the message, and this will be overwhelming for the reader in this case. And as we all know that reading and writing in this case uh, are the two skills that are deeply reflect on the with the language related with the language, and in this case the punctuation mark is the main tool when talking about translation interpretations. For example, just imagine that in the case that in a piece of writing, uh, there is all the information that it needs, but all the information are there, but the informations can can be with misuse punctuations, and that kind of situation will be confused for the reader in this case, and also will face difficulties for in understanding the the translation or the interpretations in this case. And sometimes the problem is that people misinterpreted the message due to the lack of punctuation mark. For example, if your sister or your friends send a text message that says "Let's eat, mom," or for example, the example that you gave us during the meeting when you say "Let's eat, childs," without using a comma, this message will cause you panic. But in other hands, if you add comma, it's this message the message is understood in a good way. In a more extreme case, this can occur in legal case in which if the punctuation mark are not used in a correct way, uh, serious problem can occur in this case. For the reason, it's important that the other things that the I mean other things or that the translator in this case have to know is that they have to know how to the use of moves or tense in both language, because I think that is another factor to take into account when talking about translation and interpretations. because since in this way the translator will know how to understand is the translation if in indicative mode, in subjunctive mode, or in imperative mode. And in the since in the case that the translations does not have the knowledge of the how to use the, in this case, the move or tense, it could provide they could provide a bad translation, because it could under, for example, they could understand that an opinion an order when it could be a request, and also they could confuse between the real situation interactions with hypothetical situation interactions in this case, and this will generate misinterpretations. Uh, Another important thing that we take into account when talking about translation interpretation is the word order. In this case, between English and Spanish in both language, it's important to mention that the order of the word is less fixed in Spanish than in English. Another important point in this case is that in English, some adjectives can come before or after the name. For example, when I we can say I like big house. As you can see, we are using the adjective big uh, before the name in this case. But if we say the same sentence in Spanish, will be uh, me gustan las casas grandes. As you can see in Spanish, we are using the adjective after the name. Or we have another example. I like small dogs in English. We are using the adjective small before the name in this case. And other example is that verbs can more often become a nouns they apply to. And many subjects can be omitted entirely in English. And in Spanish, it's important to mention that Spanish has a much frequent use of subjunctive more than in English. To end with this, in English, there is only punctuation mark at the end of the sentence, whereas in Spanish, we have but we when we asking, for example, when we asking a question or where we expressing excitement, punctuations is placed at both at the beginning and at the end of the sentence. In this case, we can forget the when we talk about translation and interpretation, we can forget the role of cognates. And I think that cognates plays an important role in translation and interpretation, because identifying the cognates, in this case the transfer from in English to Spanish, gives you the knowledge of thousands of vocabulary words that you already know, with a minor difference in spelling and pronunciations. This could facilitate a word of translation and interpretation, since they can be words with tones or meaning similar to those of the main language. Well, this is all for me, teacher. Thank you.